Hello, I'm Emily Villario, pharmacist, witch, and holistic health coach. Welcome to Witchy and Well's Soul Medicine, where we chat with folks who have found a way to be their own medicine and are now sharing that with the world. Today, we are joined by Kristina Ellery, who is the founder and head minister of Sacred Earth Sanctuary, a church that has a very unique mission, and we're so excited to chat with Kristina today. Welcome, Kristina.
Hi, happy to be here.
I'm so glad you're here. Awesome. So I usually like to start these episodes by asking about witchy little risks. So witchy little risks are little positive risks that we've taken to push ourselves out of our comfort zone, things that we've done with the intent to grow in some way. Do you feel you've taken a witchy little risk to grow recently?
Oh boy, I mean, that's a heavy question for me right now. I've taken many of them this week, one which I really don't think I can speak of, but I will say that actually being here today is a little bit of a risk for me, obviously not in a bad way, but in like a, it's a little nerve-wracking, and I think it's a positive step to getting comfortable speaking publicly, and yeah, so it's a good experience. I'm really glad to be here and to challenge any anxieties I may feel inside of me. Yeah.
I think like so much of magic is just allowing those little shifts, right? And those little shifts can feel like just a little boost in our comfort, our confidence. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm grateful for you taking that risk.
Thank you.
But we'll dive right in. I want to ask, what is your medicine that you are bringing to the world?
So I work with the psilocybin mushroom. I run a sanctuary called Sacred Earth Sanctuary, and we help people heal. People who have anxiety or depression, but also primarily my favorite part is helping folks connect to spirit, because for me, the mushroom is the bridge to spirit. So that's my medicine.
Yeah, absolutely. And when was it that you came to kind of find this as the medicine you wanted to share?
I came across the mushroom because of tragedy, which, has been an interesting journey. But I can go way back and say in like 2018, I had an experience with ayahuasca that started to open me up spiritually. And I had walked away from my career, moved back to the East Coast, and got involved with herbs. And then I lost my little brother, and we were in a really bad fight when he passed away. So I was going through all of that guilt and sadness and anger, and ended up going out to Arizona I didn't go there to sit with the mushroom, but I ended up sitting with the mushroom, which was just a powerful experience. I actually, I was out in Sedona, so I was very much surrounded by red rocks, and I had covered my entire body in mud. And I stood in front of a mirror and I saw my aura for the first time, and realized wow, this is who I really am, and I released a lot of grief. And so when I came back home, I just needed to explore and learn as much as I could about the mushroom. And the more layers I peeled back, the more I realized this is going to help people to heal. And also you can peel back the layers of this reality and really start to understand spirit and what it really means to be human, and the best ways that we can walk through this human experience in the most calm and peaceful manner, because it's tough to be human.
It's tough to be human. I love that statement, to walk through it the best way. What does that look like, in a ideal kind of situation? How do we walk through in the best way we can, to your knowledge, just so far?
To my knowledge, at least, the way that I'm able to navigate now, because I've gone off on my own healing journey, essentially. And that is the only way that I've been able to help others with theirs, is through my own experience. But I will say that peeling back the veil, making that connection to spirit, because we have all of these things, these surface layer things we can work on around our traumas, our childhood. We can pick that apart. We can know that it's there. We can work on it. But if you connect with spirit, which is all around us, this couch is spirit. It's all one.
Yes.
One consciousness. When you really start to not just know it here, you embody that understanding of spirit. It's kind of like I'm walking through the world as the witness to myself. And it's kind of like I'm in school and I'm in this like human suit and I'm doing my best to navigate, and I catch myself doing silly things and I just do better and I do better. But when it starts to feel like you understand it's all connected, it's all happening to you for a reason. Even the hardest, most awful things that you will go through are there for your highest good. It's not going to feel like that while it's happening. But if you're open to seeing that it's there to teach you something, life gets way more gentle.
Yeah. It's interesting. I've had the conversation several times recently with different people about the idea of spiritual bypassing. And I'm very much of the camp that it's spirit is where our answers are. As long as we're willing to be curious, as long as we're willing to take the lessons and not, be bogged down by the suffering. How do we balance all of the humanness of our experience here with the fact that spirit is where our answers are? This is a hard question.
How do we balance it? It's by having that full understanding of duality, right? Because, we can get angry at the people that trigger us. We can get angry at our government. We can even deem things evil, corrupt. They're still all spirit. There's no real separation. The duality is very real and it has to be there. So when you understand that duality, you integrate that duality, right? You are both the dark and the light. If we were only just love and light, we'd just be floating around. I don't even know that we'd exist. You have to have the shadow so that you can learn. I think that's where that balance maybe is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to believe that we chose to incarnate. I like to believe that we chose this gorgeous, painful, beautiful, pleasurable experience. And we didn't want to just be love and light.
Yeah.
But there's such cool stuff in the contrast.
Yeah, we came here to feel it all.
We came here to feel it all.
All of it. And what a gift to be able to feel it all.
Right.
Because I do believe when we're not in this physical 3D form, we have the same sensations that we do. So even that grief and that sadness, instead of feeling like, oh, something's wrong with me, if you look at it with the curiosity, wow, what an interesting feeling. Oh, I'm sad today. Oh, this is heavy. And just feeling it in your body, letting yourself cry. Yeah. What a gift to be able to cry.
What a release that is.
Yes.
What a beautiful sensation in the body it is. Yeah. Such pleasure in it all.
Yeah.
Looking back, were there any signs in your childhood that you could say, I would maybe have guessed I would end up as a minister of a church that administers psilocybin as sacrament? What was young Kristina like?
Oh, I was an odd duck. But yeah. Actually, there was, when I was maybe 10, there's a picture, and I wish I had it with me, but I don't, where I'm wearing this hemp necklace that had that glass teardrop.
Okay.
And it has the mushroom in the middle of the teardrop. And how symbolic that it's a teardrop. Right? So my pain.
Holy cannoli.
Yeah.
That's pretty powerful.
My tears, my suffering leading me to the path of the mushroom to help others. Because I never would have thought I'd be, doing what I do.
Yeah.
But all of it makes sense.
All of it makes sense with that privileged perspective, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So, I think there are a lot of people on the verge or emerging into their calling, into their awareness of spirit, of this kind of beyond the veil. What's your advice for people who are, young or at any age really, in stepping into that brave truth? Because I can't even imagine how much courage it took for you to start this church. Tell me about that. And then, what advice do you have for someone else who's like, I know what I have to do, but I'm scared to do it?
So I'll tell you about the courage of stepping in. It's kind of like when I got to a certain point with my own healing, there was nowhere else to go but to start offering it to others. Mm. But that also meant, I am in a gray area, and where there are folks that look at what I do and are like, excuse me, this is, it's not appropriate or it's illegal. And so, I am a registered 508c1a faith-based organization. And so the mushroom for me really is my sacrament. And so with that, I registered everything with the state, and back, not the location I am now, but the one I was before, I actually walked into the police station with all of my information. And I told them, here I am, this is what I do, this is what I believe. And they actually received me very well. They shook my hand and even, mentioned some of their guys on the force, could probably use this experience because of their own traumas and the PTSD. Yeah. So, but it was terrifying walking in there because I have no idea how they would really respond to that. But I do feel like it is, it's growing and it's becoming more widely accepted. And I think we are on a good path with it for sure. And so the advice that I would have for those just stepping into spirituality or it's just go for it. Because if you're feeling any pull or tug, there's a reason for that. And you have to just leap over that fear. It's kind of your trust falling into the next chapter of your life, which really collectively, we are all shifting right now. There's a big shift. There's already been several shifts, but it's still happening, and it can feel confusing and uncomfortable, and there's a lot of emotion flying around because as we are collectively raising the vibration, which I think is what's happening, all the stuff that isn't aligning has to fall away. So it's like you have to step past that fear and trust that what you're being called to, there's a reason. And whatever that is, even if it's not necessarily spirituality, whatever you're being pulled to, there is like divine purpose behind that. Yeah. And you're not gonna go wrong. Like spirit always has your back. Always. That's like my mantra. Spirit has my back. And every time, even when it's ugly, I'm like, oh, there's a lesson though. And like, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Do you have any specific examples of moments recently or in the past where you felt like uncertain, then you're like, okay, yep, no, this is right?
Oh, I don't know if I can think of anything off the top of my head, but I feel like for me, it's kind of just a regular
all the
occurrence.
time now.
Yeah, literally.
All the time.
Literally. And I surrender to it all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, I challenge at first, and then it's like, okay, it's good. It can be, life can be easeful. There will still be pain, but it doesn't have to all be such a struggle, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I mean, I have a very, I don't know if I should give this example or not, but let's just say there was one particular incident where I encountered a person that I thought things were going to be one way, and they very quickly turned into something else. Yeah. And I was very upset about that. I was like, this is horrible. How is this happening to me? And I was driving home, and I ended up seeing a porcupine. And really? it's a long story without getting into the full details of this story. The porcupine had been hit by a car, and it was awful. It was sad. It was gazing into my eyes, and almost looking through me. Yeah. And later on, I kind of realized that porcupine represented me. Where the porcupine had been hit on the porcupine's body was where I was getting weird ghost pain for like several years. And it was kind of this hole, this like wound that I had been ignoring. And had I not gone through that situation with that person and not seen the porcupine, which devastated me, I'm so sensitive to animals, I wouldn't have realized the healing that I needed to do, and that I still had this wound there.
Yeah.
And then it was like, then I was actively working to heal that wound, which was like years and years and years and years of pain and suffering. But the lessons show up. And if you're open, you'll realize why they're there.
Do you feel like we are all mirrors for each other?
100%. 100%. Especially the ones that trigger us. The people that trigger us are there to deliver a message. They're not there. It's not like curse it. It's obviously feel it. We're human. So feel your frustration. That's okay. But there's some lesson in there too.
Exactly. I think that's like thinking about spiritual bypassing, like feel it. You don't have to bury it, right? It's not like we're going,
no.
Feel it.
Yeah.
Embody it.
You have to. Because if you don't, you're stuffing it and stashing it away.
Exactly.
And that can manifest into physical problems and ultimately makes us sick,
Exactly. So here's a question. Once you've identified the wound, you've received the message, you are now consciously aware of what the work is, then what do you do? How do you find your healing?
Well, you get to work. And for me, for a while, I have obviously a beautiful relationship with the mushrooms. So I might microdose. And for me, those are little mini ceremonies. So I'm setting an intention. I'm connecting with spirit and working through something that day. But, it's not always, there is a huge push for plant medicines and entheogens right now, but there are so many other things. If you don't want to go that route, there's somatic movement, there's breath work, there's yoga, meditation, so it's really then you're trying to find the path that is best for you, for what you need to do to heal. So if we're going back to the porcupine, and this might sound silly, but I was literally because it felt like there was imagine you have your aura, right? Yeah. It felt like there was this energetic hole here. Yeah. And so I was imagining that I was growing, porcupine quills.
Yeah.
Creating safe armor, because a lot of that wound was from trauma from men. And so the porcupine, spiritually, usually the animal represents a protective, healthy armor or barrier. So then it was I'm growing my healthy quills. And I would close my eyes and I would imagine those quills were growing.
Yeah, totally.
And I swear it worked.
Yeah.
I swear it worked.
It starts, I think it can start anywhere, but often our mind, right, is such a powerful way to start shifting our reality, right? If we can really harness that capacity.
Yeah.
Yeah. For physical and emotional, for so many different wounds, our mind is powerful medicine.
Yeah. Mind, body, and soul. All has to integrate.
All it gets to integrate. How cool that we are this complex.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. So as you kind of look ahead to your future, how do you feel like this is going to shift or grow? What do you feel like, you carry this medicine with you. It's not just the psilocybin, right? It's you. And actually, let me ask you this question. I have met people who to me are, I'm going to say, magic mushrooms. And what I mean by that is, I think the mushroom is so beautiful in its capacity to connect. Right? Just on a physical level, if we watch how the mushroom grows, forming that mycelial network connects all the life within a forest. And it can do that in our brains, and it can do that with, help us do that with each other. And I think there are some people who are just so willing to be vulnerable about and honest about their experiences that they invite that from other folks in a connection like that. And I think that you have that.
Yeah.
You are that, right? Yeah. You're willing to be right here, vulnerable, talking about your experience. How do you carry that forward in whatever you do next?
Well, I want to just reflect on that connection.
Yeah.
This just like popped into my brain while you were saying that.
Yeah, please.
Imagine that we've all been unplugged, right? Imagine there's a network and the mushroom plugs you back in. So it's kind of like when we encounter others who are of that open-mindedness, of that healing and vulnerability, it's like we all kind of gravitate toward one another because we're plugged in, we're tuned in, we are now plugged in. Yeah. And not just through the mushroom, but that spirit, that element of source.
Yeah.
Folks that are open to that gravitate and find one another.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Yes. And so moving forward, my life it's pretty interesting. I'm running the sanctuary, although we're not open to the public right now. We are sort of privately working with members and then taking a few referrals here and there. But I'm back in the film industry, which is something I had walked away from.
Yes.
Very abruptly back in 2018. And then some years went by, I did some healing, I've stepped back in. And something that I've noticed there is there's a lot of healing that needs to happen in the film industry. Like Hollywood, I'm sure as many people have heard, a lot of different things that have gone on, and a lot of that stuff is true. And and I feel like the media is such a big part of our lives.
Oh my gosh.
So like
such a force for change.
Yeah. So like if we can start to get some healing in there, what beautiful change we really can create. Mm-hmm. And so I find there's no coincidence that, Sacred Earth is happening and I'm stepping back into the industry, and I'm hoping to sort of not merge the two, but it just makes sense that I would step back into a wounded industry, having all of this healing and being able to offer healing and connection to spirit. Yeah. So that's something I look forward to doing, and also eventually I want Sacred Earth to expand. It's teeny weeny right now, teeny weeny, but eventually like having a beautiful space where there's like a big team of people and having all walks of life connecting. And so eventually
I see that, I feel that, I want that so badly for you.
Thank you.
Yes.
It's coming eventually.
Yes.
The land is going to show up with the structure and the staff and the people. Like it'll happen.
It'll definitely, without a doubt, happen.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about the idea of the tortured or wounded artist, right? Thinking about folks in your industry in any role, whether it's director, actor, whatever the role is, who have perhaps deep trauma that they feel is integral to their art. What do you think about that?
I mean, I can relate to that because here I am working with, the light sort of, I'm doing this divine sacred work. But a lot of the roles that I'm playing are dark. I play these darker roles, and it's, I'm interacting with my shadow. And for me, it's a way to do my own healing. And I think a lot of people in the industry, that's part of why they got into it. There is some wound that they're pulling from, and it's a way for us to express it and get it out. Yeah.
Do you need to keep the wound to keep your talent?
The wound is always going to be there, I think all of the wounds, with all of the healing that I do, because to me, the past, the present, the future, it's all happening all at the same time. So nothing's ever really gone.
Interesting.
But there's a healthy way of going about it.
Okay.
So it's about not being attached to those things, knowing they're there, pulling from them, using them as a tool when we need to, but not being so attached. Yeah. Not identifying. This happened to me. This is who I am the victim. Stepping away from that. Yeah, this was an experience. It was hard.
Yeah.
But that's not who I am now.
Yeah. And this is what I learned from it that I can bring to the table.
Right. And like what tool, like if you could use your woundedness as a tool, like where could you bring it? How can you use your pain to help other people? Mm-hmm. And that's why I think, we're moving into a time where more and more folks have to share their stories. Even if they're dark, be brave. Step into what happened to you. It's okay. So many people keep so many things buried. Like I've seen so much of it through the work that I do. Mm-hmm. And if we could all just talk about it with no judgment. With no judgment. In itself, some people just need to talk about it and not feel judged. Mm-hmm. And then it's released.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You've learned so much about how to hold a safe space for other people to have these vulnerable experiences, these vulnerable moments. And, for our viewers, for folks who are hoping to do that for other people, regardless of whether, natural entheogens are part of the equation, do you have advice for folks how to hold a space for someone else so that they can be vulnerable?
That's a great question. There's a lot of training out there. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of programs teaching holding space. But I find the best way to hold space is to, 1, listen, be a human being, pay attention to what people really need, listen to their stories, just be like super mindful, and find a connection point as well, where maybe you can relate to what they're going through. Mm-hmm. Holding space is, if we wanted to talk about it like a training, yes, we are holding the energy of the room. Mm-hmm. But when I'm holding the energy of a room, I am giving the room and the folks in it, whether it's one or several, my absolute full attention. Mm-hmm. I am clocking every person in the room.
The rarest and purest form of generosity.
Yes, and I am cool, calm, and collected. No fear, even if something like, say, sometimes in our ceremonies, someone may start having a very difficult time. And there are folks out there that might call themselves shamans that are going to say like, oh, there's a demon or there's an entity or there's it is what you believe it is.
Right.
So when you're holding a container, you are holding that space with love and no fear. Everybody's okay. Spirit has all of our backs, always.
Always, yeah.
Faith, yeah.
Yeah, faith and love. Mm-hmm. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. I can't tell you how grateful I am for you joining me for the show. I think, it's so much more than the medicine, right? But if people were, curious and interested in learning about, psilocybin for healing, where would you recommend they turn to learn a little bit more?
Well, there's a great festival that happens in Maine called the Maine Fungi Fest, although I think they may be missing it because it's on the 31st of May.
Oh, gotcha.
But those folks, Maine has a huge network of people who are teaching about the mushroom.
Awesome.
It's also good to just dig into anything that Paul Stamets is talking about.
I love Paul Stamets.
Terrence McKenna, who has passed away, but his YouTube videos are great. And eventually, when someone is brave enough to develop their own relationship with the mushroom, that is the best way to really learn. Yeah. The mushroom is the best teacher. Yeah. You can do all the reading and all the research you want, but it is really not until you step into those experiences that you will really understand.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I'd even go as far as to say, you can start cultivating that relationship by just being in the presence of mushrooms.
Yes.
Of eating a non-psychedelic mushroom.
Yes. Have some lion's mane.
Have some lion's mane, right?
The lion's mane will start to repair the neural pathways in your brain.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much, Kristina, and
You're
best
welcome.
of luck in all of your endeavors coming up. Many exciting things.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you next time on Witchy and Well Soul Medicine.